All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Right Here with the Graziano Brothers. Dave, how are we feeling today? Another victory.
Another victory, a tale of two halves, opposite this week from
Yeah.
from week three, but we did get the win in Tampa, which is what we wanted, and excited to talk about that with you. But first, we have another installment of History of the Birds.
Stay right here. Who cares?
Today is a very special episode because we have two absolute legends
I'm
in the
excited for
building
this.
with us. Two people that, hey, we wouldn't be here without one of them.
Nope.
You know what I'm saying? We have the original Graziano brothers before there were two Graziano brothers on a podcast. We've got our Uncle Mike and our dad, Tony. Gentlemen, how are we feeling?
Proud to be here.
So great. So
Yeah.
great. This is so much fun. Yeah, thanks for having us, you guys.
Of
Well,
course.
thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for passing this tradition and passion down to us.
Right
My
on.
first question for you, growing up in Philadelphia, how did your passion and fandom start? Was it, from Pop Pop? Was it friends in the neighborhood? Was it just being around? How did it all, come about originally for you guys?
Not to start out, in a different vein, but it was baseball that brought us in, right? Like, because you guys were, getting us ready to talk about the Eagles in the 60s. So I started to do a little research, and I have like all kinds of random memories that aren't really connected, but they reminded me of getting that sports thing in the blood the way it did in Philly in the 60s. Connie Mack Stadium, Franklin Field.
Yep.
You walked into Connie Mack Stadium. Everybody tells this story, and the first time you see the field, right? You just never forget that first sight, even if you're out in the bleachers, which is where we were in left field. My first Eagles memory was selling newspapers out in front of Franklin Field, freezing and making no money. Until a couple of very nice Eagles fans came up to me, and I must have looked like really wretched, like Oliver Twist or something. They handed me a couple of tickets, and they said, "Here, maybe you can use these." So I sold the tickets, and then I did make some money that day.
Didn't go in. Sold the tickets. The money was more important.
It had nothing to do with football. It was about.
It's funny. It's funny with memories, right? Because I think I have this right, but Mike, I think for me it was Nan and Pops in the early years. So when we were, so we would
Watching on TV.
Yeah, we would do the Sundays at Nan and Pops. It was very kind of a traditional deal that, Uncle Joe would be there and his kids and Uncle Vince and Aunt Rose, and it was Sunday at Pops with pasta and the Eagles. Now that's my memory. Now I was so young in the 60s, of course, that I think we probably, played outside more than we actually watched the birds.
Yeah.
And then, of course, if you look at the schedule, or not the schedule, but the how well they did in the 60s, there was a reason that we were probably outside playing and not watching the games. But yeah, I think that was really my first memory. I think it always kind of comes back to community, and that was our community, right? It was our family, and it was Sunday, and it was part of the fun.
Now, when you were out there playing around, were you throwing the football? Were you like pretending to be one of the birds? Were there any players in that era that you would want to pretend to be?
I got a story on that that's more, my age, right? So there was a fullback named Tom Woodashek. All right. So Google Tom Woodashek. He was a great player for the Eagles, maybe one of the best players of that time, fullback. Maybe he gained like 700 yards one year. I wanted to be Tom Woodashek, right? So what I asked for Christmas, and I'm about 8 years old, was, an Eagles outfit. I got it a full outfit, right? Shoulder pads, jersey, pants, and high black
Please.
spikes, right? Yeah, fiberglass cleats, right? So what do you do when you're 8 years old on Christmas morning when you get all this? You put it on,
Put it right on.
right? I walk out into the street. I remember this. It was snowing, and I was going to walk down the street and play football, but there was nobody there, so I had to come home.
You're walking down the street with your Eagles gear on.
Full uniform.
Clanking away with the the cleats on.
You know,
I don't know what I look like to anyone, looking out their window, but that was
great.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Mike, do you remember Barbara Mendel?
Uh-huh.
So Barbara Mendel, I think I have her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of Mom's friends, she worked for the Eagles.
Right.
And
Okay.
so I remember that in my room, she would always come with Eagle stickers that were plastered all over, my dresser. And she brought over a life-size helmet that was a replica helmet of the Eagles, and it had no padding in it. And here's kind of the sad story is that I tried out for the 5th grade team. I
Wearing
didn't
that
have a helmet, so I brought that helmet.
With no pad.
Right.
I brought that helmet to the tryout because back then,
That explains a lot.
that is very true. And so the coaches are like, hey, you can't try out with that helmet. So
Right.
I ended up going down and seeing one of my buddies had an extra helmet, but it was one of those egg helmets that had like the double, it was like a helmet, but then it gave me a couple more inches, which I guess helped a little bit.
You could block a
But-
kick with that thing, huh?
Yeah. That just holds you up.
Yeah, exactly.
That is great.
Yeah. So
Well, that's awesome. Let's talk some ball. And this is more for Uncle Mike because you were a little bit older. But are there memories from the 1960? Because that's where we left off last episode, the history of the Birds. Are there memories from that team and winning the championship? And specifically, can we get confirmation that Pop Pop was out parking cars at this championship game or not?
I think I could confirm that,
Okay,
all right.
great.
but I have no recollection of the game.
Okay, gotcha.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Because you're how old at that time? You're 7, right?
I'm 6.
Okay,
You're 6 years
gotcha.
old. Okay.
And Norm Van Brocklin, it's his last year.
Yeah, right. No recollection. Yeah, when I was doing the little, research thing, looking for players that I recognize, right, and then I got like the mid '60s, Tom Woodashick, and then I started to see the names, and they started to bring back certain like memories of games,
Definitely.
like how you remember like one thing. One of them was we had an offensive tackle named Bob Brown, who was our only guy who made All-Pro. Every year he was the All-Pro from the Eagles was Bob Brown, offensive tackle. And I must have been at this game in the mid-'60s because it was halftime. We were getting beat really bad, and the team was kind of walking, into the tunnel. Bob Brown was maybe 50 yards behind everybody else, just walking real slow, completely covered in mud, just looking like a guy who was like trying to hold the team up, like all by himself. I just remember that it was sort of like, he wasn't going to lose if he had to do it himself, but he couldn't. He was offensive tackle.
And he's playing for the Birds in the 60s.
So we had one
Yeah.
All-Pro.
He was
during
our
that
All-Pro
time.
every year. Yeah.
Mike, do you remember Roman Gabriel and Norm Snead? Are they more late 60s, early 70s, or did they?
When Snead was traded. We traded Sonny Jurgensen for Norm Snead, right? One of those trades where like I still don't really know what was behind that.
Right.
I don't know if Sonny Jurgensen was having some kind of issue, and they needed to get rid of him or something like that. So they got Norm Snead was the starting quarterback for a couple of years. We had Ben Hawkins was our great wide receiver who did not snap his chin snap. That was his like signature. Pretty cool. Yeah. There was one year I kind of remembered this headline, and I reacquainted myself with this. 1968, right? The Eagles lose their first 10 games. We're 0-10. Now, the thing that's going on, like behind the scenes, is that the number one draft pick for that following year was going to be a guy named OJ. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
OJ Simpson.
yeah, right. And we're looking pretty good. We're 0-10. But on Thanksgiving Day against the Detroit Lions in a driving rainstorm, Sam Baker kicks 4 field goals, and we win 12-0. Okay. The headline was Baker's dozen.
Okay.
Okay.
I
The
love
Muddy
it.
Miracle or Baker's dozen. That was the headline.
The Muddy
Then we won
Miracle.
another game, and then we ended up with the third pick, and we ended up with a guy named Leroy Keys, who nobody remembers, and I don't even remember if he played.
I kind of remember that name. I think
Uh-huh.
he was, sounds I don't know. Sounds familiar though. Leroy Keys.
Yeah.
So we lost out on the OJ sweepstakes
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
because of a couple wins, and he ends up going to Buffalo, and the rest is history.
That's right.
That's great. Now another 68 story. Are we obligated to talk Santa Claus?
Hmm.
And was it do you remember it being, I know you guys were both really young, but was it a big of deal then as it continues to be brought up now of Eagles fans throwing snowballs at Santa Claus at halftime?
The thing I notice about that and similar stories, the people who bring them up all the time are not necessarily Philly people,
Exactly.
right? They're like announcers from, ESPN or something like that.
Yep.
They always bring up the Santa Claus thing, booing snowballs and stuff like that. But I don't think it was a big deal in Philly, and I think the backstory is kind of interesting because I think that the Santa Claus was kind of like kind of scrawny. In other
Wait,
words,
didn't
He
they
was a
literally
bad Santa
pull?
Claus.
Didn't
He
they pull the
deserved it.
Santa Claus from the stands or something? Or am I
right?
making that up?
Yeah, it was a bad idea from the beginning.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was kind of like this is where this should end.
I think so. I think too, back in 1968, it wasn't like you had, 400 channels and social media and all that other stuff. So, whatever happened at the stadium in 1968 with a snowball probably stayed in the stadium until, of course, somebody had, the
Yeah,
story and it had to then
Now
fester to
it's
the next.
stuff of legend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
now it's just something that people talk about to kind of bash Eagles fans.
Right.
pretty much. Yeah.
Gives us a bad name.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't even that big of a deal.
Right.
Shocker.
So,
Even
We've
back
done
then.
far worse. We have done far worse than
oh,
that.
that's right.
Oh, absolutely.
That's what hang your hat on. Okay.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. I have a fun little like tidbit here that I found during my research, and I wonder if you guys remember this because this era was pre-Super Bowl era still. And so I
Yeah.
didn't know, and Dave, I don't know because we've been talking about obviously all of our teams in the past and talking about not making the playoffs and that kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
because there were only two conferences, only two teams, there was no playoffs really. It was the
Right.
two top teams of each conference went to
Mhm.
the championship.
Yeah.
And so in 61, we actually went 10-4 and we had a decent record. And we still missed the playoffs because of tiebreakers. And so then I researched what tiebreakers were back then.
Mhm.
And it was either head-to-head record. And so like, however many times you guys have played each other throughout the season. But then if you tie there or if multiple teams were in like a tiebreak, then you would have a one-game playoff,
Hmm.
which is
Really?
fascinating. So then they would do a one-game playoff for this conference because again, it's just East and West, right? Back then,
Yeah.
is that what it was?
Um,
AFC, NFC,
AFL, was it the American
AFL, NFL, right.
AFL? And
Uh-huh.
yeah.
AFL, NFL.
That's what it was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so then they would have a one-game playoff for one of these teams to make it into the championship game.
Yeah.
Do you guys like have any memories about that era of football? Because we only know Super Bowl era football. And so
Right.
back then, only having the two conferences did that make anything either more enjoyable to watch or maybe less?
I think one of the things, and this is probably true of all the sports now, the length of the season, right, and the length of the
Yes.
playoff thing, right, makes the regular season it's kind of a long haul,
Mm.
and it's hard to stay interested in it because it doesn't have the same tension, right? In those days before all these teams made the playoffs, like in baseball right now, I think 8 teams from each league make the playoffs. And then it was just two. So there was a lot of tension around the last part of the season to win, right? To win and be in first place.
Mm.
You weren't playing for fourth place,
And just to get in.
Weren't
right.
a playoff spot. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So the season was it was shorter, and there was more. It was more important.
Every week was more important, kind of like college before they added the playoff bracket.
Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's an interesting take too, because you see like a player like Jalen Hurts, who obviously gets so fired up in the playoffs. And then during the regular season, he's just kind of trying to win just to make the playoffs. Because once we're in the playoffs, now it matters. But
Mhm.
during the season, it's like, okay,
Bigger
we just got to
stage.
slog through these games just to get to.
Mhm.
And so it's interesting to think of a player like him, what he would be like pre-Super Bowl era, because every single game would matter.
What do you think it would be like? I mean, if you like right now with 17 games in the schedule, right? And there seems to be this kind of like very patient, we don't really know who we are yet. Our identity hasn't set in. We're figuring that out little by little. And okay, that seems to be a little bit of what comes out of a 17 game season. You actually can do that.
Yeah.
How about if you're playing like 11 games? You don't really have much time, right? You can't play 5 games figuring out who you are.
Right.
By then you're done. Right.
Was there
you gotta figure it out.
preseason? Was there preseason then too? And the starters would probably play.
Yeah,
If there was.
I think so. Yeah.
I think the problem was the guys, it depended on whether they could get vacation time from their insurance job
Or from making concrete.
selling concrete.
or selling concrete. I mean, these guys had to make, their money somewhere else. They're like, okay, I can give you 14 weeks. I don't know if I can give you 15. You know?
Mhm.
I mean,
Johnny
I wonder
Johnson.
how lucrative the NFL was back then too.
Oh yeah, TV contracts, probably
Right.
didn't exist. It was only your local. Like, what channel were the Eagles on, Mike? Was it channel 10, 3, 6, or 10?
Whatever channel John Facenda was on.
Right.
Who was John Facenda?
John Facenda was that booming, like magisterial voice on the early,
Was he on NFL Films or no?
NFL films, right? Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Which is out of Philly, by the way. Which again, America's team, America's city.
Yes.
Yeah, it was really to put, all of that, Steve Sable, NFL Films, and John Facenda was the voice. He was like the voice of God,
If neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run. Yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
Yep.
Describing a 98-yard run, like it was kind of unforgettable.
Hey, Mike, going back to the question, I don't know if Chris or Dave asked you, but like, did you and your buddies, when you were, because you were in South Philly, we didn't leave or move to the suburbs until what, 66 or 67, but you were there up and through what, 8th grade?
Yeah, 7th.
So did you guys have, did you play football?
We played 11-on-11 tackle.
But not with school. This is just a bunch of buddies going down to Cobbs Creek or something, and wherever you played.
Well, when we moved, to Havertown, and then I was like 13 or 14. We started playing Bryn Mawr on Thanksgiving Day, 11 on 11. My quarterback was Billy Swan, who, is like a Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
And we used to, because Billy was our quarterback, we used to have plays, like we would run patterns. I was a wide receiver. We would run patterns with, like one guy doing an out, one guy doing a post, one guy doing, button hook in the middle. And we just won it all the time,
Were you wearing your Eagles gear?
No,
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
not.
You weren't. Yeah,
Was
for
it
Christmas.
pads and cleats and everything like that?
No.
No, just out in the yard.
It was out at the field, 11 on 11. It was, center, guards, tackles, the whole thing.
Yeah.
No equipment.
It's like that scene in Invincible where he goes and he meets his buddies.
Just like that.
After practice and actually tackling each other with no pads and no helmets.
God, those were such good times, and I know maybe we'll talk about this as we get into the 70s, but for our group, it was right next to Stretch Funeral Home. So, good buddy Jay Stretch, St. Dennis Church was right there, and we'd have our turkey bowl in the side yard of the funeral home. And you ask, like, did you back in the day, did you say, okay, I want to be, pick the Eagle? Not so much. It was Kenny Stabler and it was Fred Bolitnikoff. I mean, that's who, yeah. So, and Kenny the Snake. So these are Raiders who were just kind of iconic for some reason, right? I don't know why those guys.
LA Raiders?
The Oakland, I guess.
Were they in Oakland? Okay.
Yeah.
So they went Oakland, LA, Oakland?
Vegas. Yep, exactly.
Oh, Vegas.
Yeah, they did. That's right.
Oakland Raiders beat the Eagles in our first Super Bowl.
Ron Jaworski.
Wow.
That's right.
Wow. Bastards. Sons of bitches. Well, if we want to dive into the 70s a little bit, I just looked up a little thing here, and I didn't realize that in the 70s, then that's when we moved from Franklin Field to Veterans Stadium.
The Vet.
So that's 1971.
Right.
So do you guys remember that?
Well, I'll go with, if we're going to get into the 70s, and I want to say, so Jaworski came in not until the late 70s, right? So even in the 70s, we were not a very good football team, but probably the best football memory, if I could bring this up.
Please do.
Went to the St. Dennis Bulldogs. I was a St. Dennis alum.
Yeah.
My football career peaked in the 6th grade. So I'm just going to
with the helmet.
Because I didn't have a helmet, probably. And so in 8th grade, though, the 7th and 8th grade team played at Franklin Field against St. Coleman. And St. Dennis Bulldogs pulled it out. I was a manager on that team. And my job.
Yeah, what was the role of the manager for the 7th, 8th
Water
grade
boy?
team?
No, not the water boy. Even better. When the guy kicked off, that little tee was sitting in the middle of the field. Ran out, grabbed the tee. Got all Catholic honors for that.
Go, Tony, go.
I think there are college teams that have actual dogs that do that now.
Are you serious?
Your job was taken.
It's like AI is taking everybody's job. You're saying
Yes.
like dogs are now
Your job got taken by an actual canine dog.
So you're in 6th grade. You're a year before playing on this team of 7th and 8th graders.
No. Unfortunately, I was an 8th grader playing and
Managing the 5th and 6th grade.
Right. All the athletes are out playing the game. And I'm telling you, we had a kid, and we won't go down too far, but Steve Redding. Mike, I don't know if you remember Steve. He lived down the block from us on Turnbull Avenue. And he moved, I think he went to Good Shepherd, moved to St. Dennis in like 7th grade. The kid was shaven already, one of those guys. And I mean, he was just a strong kid. And which is one of the reasons why I think we beat St. Coleman's that game. McGuire will tell you that it was all because of his skills as a wide receiver, but I think Steve Redding had something to do with it. Just saying.
Yeah. Shout out to McGuire. He's watching.
He is. Yeah. Yep.
Saw him.
Good job.
I was a St. Dennis Bulldog.
Yeah.
In 8th grade. Yeah.
You were on the team?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was on the kickoff team.
Kickoff.
Yeah, that was the
You
only
can see
way I saw.
long line of football stars over here, fellas.
That's
Well, hey
right.
now, as we know from the past few games, special teams is very important.
That's
That's
right.
true.
So don't
That's
knock
true.
yourself.
That's
Can't
true.
take it lightly.
Yep.
And not take that
That
lightly.
is
There's
awesome.
three there's offense, defense, and special teams. You
And what
can't
about the
forget
manager?
Manager, you can have a dog step in.
Hey, you would have been out there holding the shades up for the players in Tampa, which very,
Big deal.
very important job. And Chris, we should talk about this in the recap, but Tampa couldn't throw us over a couple of pipes to hold those things up
Nope.
during the game. What the heck was that?
Nope, Tampa didn't give up. All right, so getting into the 70s, I see right here in a little bit of my research that we ended up moving from Franklin Field to the Vet in 71. Do you guys have any initial reactions or feelings? Was it a different environment? Was it like, oh my God, we got this new stadium? I know we're hearing a lot of whispers about getting a new stadium, moving on from the Link, which
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know about a dome. I know there's a lot of whispers about trying to have a Super Bowl in Philly. I'm a weather guy. I mean, I don't
Agreed.
know. Tell us about the Vet. What was that like? Was the energy different? Were we like excited? Like, oh my God, we're gonna be good. I'm also seeing that we weren't good for a while still.
Right.
I mean,
I think, Mike, you'd have probably a better memory of, particularly with Franklin Field to the Vet. For me, again, I was obviously really young, but I kind of remember that it seemed like it was the the way that most of the stadiums were going, and it was like this huge, mammoth of a stadium. It was supposed to be
Mhm.
very futuristic, and it was supposed to be really amazing, and it was going to hold all these people. So I kind of remember that the vibe was, like
It was a big deal.
it was a big deal, because you're going from like Franklin Field. Yeah, I mean, when was that thing built? Wasn't that where
Well, the Phillies played there,
Penn,
right?
right? Shibe Park, Connie Mack, Franklin Field. I mean, those things were so old. So I think the vibe was that, this is a big deal. The Eagles have a real stadium. Of course, the thing was awful, by the way.
But
But
that's the problem,
yeah.
when you have a bad team, it's almost like you can't really keep the like the allure, right? Of
Yeah.
a new stadium.
And spending all that money.
Yeah, and it wasn't really. I mean, we know this now, like looking back at the Vet and the turf issues,
Right, right.
the security issues, the jail cells, and the
Someone designed a jail cell for
Yeah.
the Vet.
right, like.
Yeah.
You guys, somebody mentioned the movie Invincible.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Do you remember I think it may have been the opening scene of the movie where they're all sitting in the 700 level. It's, at the Vet, it's snowing or something.
Yeah.
Eagles are just about to lose again. The, the Eagles quarterback takes a knee, right?
Yes.
Instead of like trying for a last second touchdown. And they're like, oh my God, I thought that scene pretty much captured the Vet.
Nice. And
That was the feeling at the Vet.
and fans were leaving, and they would say, "Where are you going? Sit down. The
Yeah,
game's
yeah.
not over. Sit down."
The atmosphere at the Vet, right?
Right.
It just got a little dangerous, and there were a lot of seats there that weren't really very good. Eventually, the 700 level, you had to avoid it really if you could. But I think the fact that the Eagles were the team that they were was kind of contributing to all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, who would go to the game, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you know,
Was there a lot of hostility back then in the stands? Just because, I mean, I'm seeing here we don't have a winning record in the
Yeah.
70s till 78.
yeah, Ron Jaworski, I think, finally came on
It
board.
was
Yeah.
Dick Vermeil when Vermeil
Yeah.
came,
Vermeil, yeah.
Yep.
started to turn around.
Yeah, we
Right.
got Jaws in 77 and still went 5-9.
Yeah,
And then 78 we went 9-7.
Is
and we lost
that
in the
is
wild
that Bill
card.
Berge at the end of the 70s?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
coming
Right.
in. Carmichael.
Yep.
Yeah.
Harold Carmichael.
Okay, so we got some bigger names coming in, some actual players.
Yep.
Robert Montgomery and those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike, you remember Tom Dempsey?
Yeah.
Tom Dempsey. I don't know if you guys know who Tom Dempsey is, but
Oh.
he played for the Saints and I think had the longest field goal for a while, 63 yards or something. But he had a club foot. He didn't have any toes.
Oh, so it was cheat code.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he literally had like
That's hilarious.
he was amazing. I mean, the guy could,
Mhm.
kick and I don't.
Wasn't Tony Danza in a movie that he was a trash man and he became the kicker of the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah.
Remember
I think
that?
yes. One of the worst movies ever. Maybe
So I don't think it was not in our top 10 football.
it was not in the
movies.
top 10.
Did not make it. No,
It's hilarious that you
definitely not.
remembered that film. That is great.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a kicker. Like, hey, let's make a movie about a football player. He's going to be a
Yeah.
kicker.
Yeah. Trash man. Yeah. But yeah, Tom
That's
Dempsey.
incredible.
So he was 70, but Bill Bergey, I think to me, and again, for whatever reason, that's the guy that seemed to epitomize just the toughness of Philly.
Mm.
He was just a tough linebacker, and he was great.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you guys, so like now that we're having these like, you got Roman Gabriel for like the mid 70s.
Yeah.
You got Jaws, of course. You got Harold Carmichael. Now you're getting some players that are notable.
Yeah.
Was this sort of an era where the fandom was starting to pick up, where like maybe the passion was getting a little bit, even though we were having a tough go, at least we have some players that are notable towards the end of the 70s. Did you guys see a shift, or did you guys have a shift in this time where you were like, okay,
Excited.
the birds are on the rise?
Right.
Yeah,
We-
absolutely. Yeah.
Fans don't cheer for teams that are on the rise.
That's so true.
Philly fans cheer for teams that are winning.
Yeah. That's like the Sixers teams for the last 12 years.
Well, trust the process, you know?
Right.
Oh.
We're not trying to make like the conference semifinals.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Not trying to lose in the wild card.
We're
Yeah.
not the Cubs.
Yeah.
Right.
We're not the lovable losers. I mean, as much as you love the Cubs and love Wrigley Field and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, but in answer to your question, Chris, I would say that the vibe with Vermeil and Jaworski and all of those guys, I mean, there started to be some excitement, and I would say that there was a big change in the market for the Birds.
Yeah, but the disappointments only they continued just kind of at a higher level.
Because the expectations were higher.
Expectations are higher. Heartbreak
Right.
feels worse.
Teams
Right.
didn't, they got to a certain point. Obviously, they were better.
Yep. Yep.
And Vermeil was a great coach, and so there was a lot of expectation, and then they would lose.
Right.
The other thing going on at that time was the ownership was always seemed to be kind of at war with the either the coach or the players or the fans or something like that. Like it was the relationship between the owners who never really quite got Philly,
Yeah, where was Leonard Toes? Was it Leonard Toes? He was Norman Brayman was an owner for a while. He was a car dealer from Florida.
They were,
yeah.
they weren't like really native Philly guys, and they would get into kind of issues with certain players or something like that, but they were not really like very well loved by the fan base.
Mm-hmm.
So the Eagles had that thing where like, their leadership was sort of suspect.
Yeah.
And then of course, they would get to a certain point and falter.
Yeah, and you see that all
Championship.
through the 70s, it looked like. I mean, while we have you guys here, we might as well talk the 1980 Super Bowl then, right?
Third and long, the Raiders in their 4-2-5. Back to pass, now goes Jaworski. Looking, being chased out of the pocket to the right. He's got running room, directing play, going deep, a bomb to the end zone. It is a touchdown!
He got it! Touchdown! Rodney! Oh, we got a penalty! Oh, we got a flag! Who's the penalty on? Daggone rotten touchdown called back. Was that on Harold, Dick?
Jaworski in Oakland.
So I'm seeing here, we had Jaws that year. He threw for 3,529 yards, 27 touchdowns.
Whoa.
Named NFC Player of the Year. He played one of his best seasons.
Mm-hmm.
We got Wilbert Montgomery, ran for 778, 8 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
It says he has it exploded in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Carmichael, Bill Berge.
Bill Berge.
Yep. So I guess we had one of the top defenses. Now, of course, it ended in heartbreak.
Back is Jaworski. Sets up really deep. Now comes up the middle. Picked off. Rod Martin, the third time middle. And Rod Martin once again slams the door in the face of the man they call Jaws. A sort of fitting symbol. Silver and black football is king of the hill in the National Football League. Crescendo of Raider fans beginning to rise.
Oakland's victory created the sort of joyous reaction that comes with seeing something that suggests all things are possible.
We lose this Super Bowl.
This is against the Raiders.
Yep.
And is Vermeil the coach, or is this
Vermeil's the coach?
Okay.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I see we beat the Vikings on the way to the Super Bowl, 31-16. We beat the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game.
Love that.
Do you guys remember that?
Yeah. That was like the pinnacle,
right?
You know, for the Eagles for a long time was that game.
Philadelphia defeated Dallas 20-7 for their first NFC championship in 20 years. Once scorned as the joke of the league, the Eagles are showing their tail feathers to the rest of the NFC on their way to the Super Bowl.
For decades. I mean, literally since 1960, right? So
and for you guys, it sounds like the first little piece of success.
Right.
Because those 40 teams, and then I guess 60 won the championship, but not until 80 then. Right. And Chris, how spoiled were we growing up with these?
I mean, diving into this stuff and hearing
a good front office, a good head coach, great players, right? I mean, you guys grew up and had to wait until a couple of decades before the teams getting.
You guys are definitely in the golden age, man. Of
no doubt.
Oh, right now is. But is there something to be said, like in our 2000s run? Even in this Super Bowl in the 80s, would you rather the team sucks than to get so close and not? Like the 5 NFC championship games in a row where we make it to the Super Bowl with Donovan and then we lose. And then Andy Reid goes off and does his thing with the Chiefs. It's like, couldn't we have just sucked back then?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that give me a winning season, something I can root for. And even with a little bit of heartbreak, because there's always that feeling that, you know what, we're gonna be better next year. You know, there's going to be an opportunity, and I think it says a lot when, you know, as a kid growing up, when you're, you know, the guys that you emulated out on the playground were from Oakland, right? I mean, when it's Fred Blitnikoff,
right,
and Ken Sabler, you just don't have a connection to your team. So yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know what you think, Mike, but my take is let's get some wins and let's get close. And even if we get some heartbreak, you know, there's always next year, and you have a sense that your team's going to get there.
It was a little bit different for my peer group, and you know, those years with the the McNabb teams and everything, the NFC championships and all that.
Yeah,
devastating.
Yeah.
Devastating.
Yeah.
I mean, we'd be at parties and people would go, I can't talk about it.
Yeah.
And not talk about that Tampa Bay game.
Yeah.
There was something about the way they showed up and just flopped.
Yeah.
Like that had something to do with it, I think. You know, like, of course the expectations are high. Of course you think you could win or lose, but you don't really expect like them to just not show up.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened a couple times, you know, in those games.
Yep.
And, you know, what I remember was like just this feeling of devastation that everybody kind of shared, for weeks.
Yeah.
Just couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny that you say that because seeing in going back to the 1980 Super Bowl, we were favored to win and we lost 27-10 and
We were
Jaws
out of
threw
that
three
game by the
picks.
second quarter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
So
Yeah.
Jaws comes out, has the best season of his career,
Yeah.
and then he goes into the Super Bowl, throws 3 interceptions.
Right.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
That must have been devastating.
Hurts.
Yeah.
So
How old are we in 1980? Just to get a gauge. Now,
20
not to
and
age you guys.
20
You can give roughs if you don't want to.
20 and 26, I think.
Yeah. 20. Yeah. I was 20.
Okay,
I'm
we got a
in
mathematician over here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, not just a hat rack, my friend.
Not just a hat rack. So
Okay, so you guys
yeah.
are in your 20s. So,
So,
like,
and I'm trying to think if I was living in California at the time, or if I could have been at the Mount, at school. But yeah. So, so if I was in LA, I'm just thinking that I'm surrounded by a bunch of Californians.
Yeah, so just you and Pop Pop maybe watching it.
Me and Pop,
Yeah.
watching the deal. Mike, you had your whole crew
Yeah.
watching the game.
hmm
and so how pissed are we at halftime? Like, if we don't even have a shot in this game?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. We're devastated. Yeah. But again, my sense is that get me to the Super Bowl, even if I can't talk for a couple of days, because I mean you guys lived with me a couple of times when we weren't doing very well with the Phils or the Birds, and there was a couple of jerseys that ended up going into the fireplace.
My first memory of you being an Eagles fan before Chris and I were even watching games was a playoff game against the Giants, and Jason Sehorn intercepted. Who was our quarterback? Would it have been McNabb at that point?
Well, yeah.
Probably early,
Yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s. And you threw your hat in the fireplace and went for a lengthy drive. Not sure where you ended up.
Yes.
But
He came back, though. He came back.
He came back, and
That's
that is the start of us being crazy people, and our emotions being swung by grown men throwing a ball around the field.
It's
And
funny
so-
when you guys were growing up. Sorry, Chris, but
Go
when
ahead.
you guys were growing up, and when you were little, and you were still becoming really Eagles fans, I can't tell you how many people you were saying, "What are you doing? Like what?" Like you guys have lived, you guys know we've lived in Chicago and DC, and we've lived in LA, we've lived in all kinds of different places, and yet wind up having these kids be Eagles fans. Oh my gosh. But guess what?
Thank God for that.
Let's go, Birds!
Now here we are. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Also, can we talk about how the guy that was just talking about how he would rather like get close than having a bad season?
I know. Yeah.
Same guy that's throwing his hat in a fireplace.
Hey,
He's so philosophical.
Listen, I'm not saying I'm not
He
emotional.
threw the hat into the fire.
Hey, but Mike, you and your guys, you just couldn't talk about it. I took action. I actually,
Yeah.
took action.
Okay.
Well, that's been passed down. We've thrown a couple of jerseys into the trash, Chris and I.
Carson Wentz.
Depending on the season and the player. So,
Right.
yeah, Apple doesn't fall far.
So
It does
sorry,
not.
fellas. Sorry,
Hey.
guys.
Don't
Yeah.
apologize.
But look at
Couldn't be
us.
happier.
Look at us now. It brings
Look
us
at us
together,
now.
and this is what it's all about. Fans all over the world, the family getting together, and like you said at the beginning, that it's about community and a shared love for your team.
Right on.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Right.
Incredible. Well, thank you guys so much. I think that touched about every topic that we wanted to talk about, and then some.
Can I say one thing?
Please,
Just one
please.
thing. Yeah. I know we're talking Birds, but let's not forget
Come
this
on.
Philly team that we're really excited about here.
Red October.
Okay, that's right.
They're hitting the ball well.
They
I think so.
are.
Yeah.
They're looking good. Let's go, Phils.
Big time.
All
Hey,
right.
we brought that energy from the Phillies into the Tampa game last week. We talked about that on the pod. So
Eight
Red
home
October.
runs. Yep.
Mhm. So,
Sure.
guys, thank you again so much for coming on. If you're interested again, I'm sure we'd love to have you on for another segment. I
No
think
doubt.
that'd be a lot of
That'd be
fun.
fun.
And
That's a lot.
I don't know if you guys know the slogan around here, but win or lose, we stay.
Right here.